come once again to discuss things.
Well, they started off with all the data. I couldn't say all the data was faster, so it kind of became it wasn't. I can say that it, but if I had.
Alright, we have everyone ready to go ahead and get started then?
Of course.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentleman Fan Film Reviews. I am Sid Part 2, and coming from all the way out in Hollywood land is Rasco. Hello, Rasco.
Hi.
And joining us as a special guest, since this is a Star Wars related thing, and I was sitting there bored on Twitter talking about it, and this guy was all like, hey, I like Star Wars, is Red Leader Antilles. Hello, Red Leader Antilles.
Hi, I like Star Wars.
Yeah, I've heard. Okay, so Rasco, what are we talking about today that's related to Star Wars and fan films?
We're talking about a fan film called Rebel Come.
Rebels Come.
Yeah, but the porn parody of the Star Wars TV show Rebels.
Oh, man.
Disney's taken a big departure.
That's a weird place to start.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're already committed. So no, it's not called Rebels Come, but that would be a much that is like a much better title for a Star Wars parody, porn parody than anything else I've ever heard. Okay.
Never mind.
What?
Continue.
No, we're talking about Rebel Scum, which is a very different thing. Oh man, this is...
Is it though? Everyone's covered in white stuff either way.
Oh, damn.
Oh, this is...
You thought it was snow on Hoth all that time. Or were you
Oh, no,
wrong?
it's just Wampa shoes.
Just wampa jizz everywhere. Oh man, this is like the proper level of intellectual conversation that Geeky Gentleman was always meant to be. Okay, Rasco. So besides your never-ending desire to see wampa jizz, why did you pick this fan film?
This was a fan film that I saw a few months ago on YouTube, and I wanted to pick it, but I never did. And I just thought it was about time. I also clicked on it and looked at it, and I just could tell from just like 1 second that it looked pretty freaking good compared to like everything that we've talked about Star Wars. Actually, we've talked about a lot of good shit now, so I can't even say that. But it looked good. That's all I can say, and that's why I picked it.
Oh, I would definitely agree with that. It is wonderfully shot. I mean, you just gotta respect a Star Wars fan film that can actually do location. And, like,
Yeah.
so much of that is just completely accidental, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I could make a Star Wars fan film, but it's gonna be one of the Star Wars fan film where it's like, oh, we're in the woods. Like, a lot of people can do that. Some people can't even do that. I'm still waiting for, like, the Star Wars fan film that takes place on Coruscant, though. That's the one I want. But, like, yeah, just the mountains look fantastic. For a minute, I was like, okay, they probably, like, shot in, like, maybe a valley or some hills that had a bunch of snow and then put the mountains in post. But no, I watched the behind the scenes. They're there.
Yeah.
Everything
Really?
you're seeing, everything you're seeing environment-wise,
Wow.
it's all there. And that is really just... I commend the ability to go shoot. I mean, like, some of the... Just the location scouting is amazing, because it's not just like mountains would have been enough. Mountains, snow would have been plenty. There's that amazing shot of just that frickin' cave.
Yeah.
That was cool as shit.
Yeah, like, they had to, like, discover that on their way to filming the rest of it or something, right? Like...
It has to be like a tourist thing or something like that, yeah. There's no way that they just... Like, that just looked so cool. It had such a Star Wars feel to it, of just those, epic landscapes that are, like, so quintessentially sci-fi and just have this rich texture to them.
Yeah, what's cool about the cave is that, like, that is... If you could get any closer to Hoth besides just, like, snow and mountains, it would be, like, caves as well, and that's like the one thing that you can do to make it very specifically hot. And there's a cave. I think that's cool.
Yeah, it looks great. The way it's shot is really, really well done. Everything has just a really beautiful what's the word I want here? Cinematography is really, really well done. The lighting, the way the shadows all hitting. Like, it would be really, especially since it's snow, it'd be really easy for this just to be completely blown out, right?
Oh, that would be horrible. But it looks so good.
Yeah, the contrast and just everything about how this is shot and where they are looks fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I'm just, scrolling through it, looking at stuff. And
one thing that got me about this, the freaking detail and kind of like wear on the costumes. I think this is the best it's ever been. Like, we talked about that Han Solo fan film, and that one was really good. But the one thing we kept saying about that was that some of the costumes weren't as like dirty and like worn as they probably should have been. That's not the case in this. If you look at the helmets, they've got little like nicks where like the paint's chipped, and they even have that on like the binoculars. Like everything, like all the binoculars and shit on Hoth have this weird, distinct look where they're like white paint with like some like weird like burn streaks on them, and the binoculars had those. Little tiny things like that are so cool.
Yeah, I agree. It looks great, visually speaking. It looks just absolutely fantastic. Overall, as far as just like what is shot in camera, I think looks really, really good. I think the attention, I agree, the attention to detail on the costumes, I looked through the credits, they mentioned the 501st, who are like the big Star Wars cosplaying group and everything. They did a really good job getting costumes from them, and it looks really battle-worn, which is great. I will say, the miniatures look pretty good, but I think it's both weird to integrate them with CGI as far as like the smoke and explosions that happen with them. I guess I'm just more of like because like the miniature, you see it and you're like, okay, it's stop motion, right? But then it like blows up in smoke, and I'm like, well, now it's distracting because I'm seeing two different ones and they're not super well integrated together. So I found that to be a problem.
I get that. Yeah, I read in the description they said that most of the effects were done practical. There was like very limited use of CG, and I'm sure that it was mostly in like the smoke and the explosions. Those are the only two places that I could really find where and like the little hologram and shit like that. But no, that's pretty fair to some degree. Again, though, it's really cool that they do have a lot of practical effects. Like that's pretty cool. There's a lot of stop motion. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have weird feelings whenever we talk practical effects like stop motion, because especially normally I'd just say whatever with this, but since it's Star Wars, I'm going to talk about it. So Star Wars fans, of course, always go, "Oh, well, you should have just stuck with the practical effects. They always look better." And yeah. I'm like, yeah, they definitely look like they're there more than in the prequels and stuff. And if you read through the comments, you'll see people saying, like, how is it that a fan film has better effects than The Force Awakens with Disney and all their billions of CGI? I'm like,
That's
okay,
dumb.
okay.
That's
Yeah, let's pump the brakes on that one, buddy.
That's so fucking dumb.
Yeah. But the thing when you're using practical effects like stop motion is it might physically look like it's actually there in the frame and everything, and that's great, but it doesn't move very well. And like the thing you can say about any CG is, as long as it's done, competently, CG moves much more realistically than things like practical effects and puppeteering. You have to get a really, really detailed puppet that can move anything like a person, and even then it becomes really, really obvious really fast. So it's a trade-off, I feel, and I feel as digital effects have gotten better and better and better to the point where, like, Rise or War of the Planet of the Apes just came out, and that movie's like very heavily digital. The human cast is not a big part of that. There's only
I saw that movie the other day. There's so many CG apes, but they look so good. They look so good.
Like there's like what, one human character with significant lines.
There's one human character that like has a lot of dialogue. There's one little girl who doesn't speak. And there's like nameless soldiers, but there is like one human character that it's mostly apes, and they all look amazing the entire way through. There's no other way to make a Planet of the Apes movie in 2017 other than to use CG, if you're asking me.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, we're getting to the point where CG can make movable characters and stuff that look like really, really good, and you can get really invested in them, and you're not even distracted by them anymore.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, it's just one of those things where, like, there's certainly a trade-off, and as CG gets better and better, it's becoming less of a trade-off, in my opinion. So I don't know, I find that seems to always be the thing with Star Wars fans, is you end up getting into the thing about CGI versus practical effects.
I just hate that because it's become such a meme. Like, it's just like, it's like when you go to school and it's like, hey, did you know that Columbus didn't actually try to find America when he set, like that whole thing? People throw out like little school facts like that. That's one of the ones that to me is like, it's become like a meme. It's like, practical effects are better. And I understand why people say that. I understand there's like a lot of pressure on people to say that as well. And it's just kind of, everyone repeats that and echoes that and just parrots it over and over again. And I'm somewhere in the middle. I mean, like, I have really specific opinions about a lot of that shit, and it just really annoys me because it's like one of those things that it's just a meme. People just throw it out there. They just say it.
They just say it and don't think about it, and that's something that always drives me crazy. In all honesty, I'm usually advocating for a blend of the two. Do practical effects, mix them with CG, do CG, mix it with practical effects. In this case, to get back to the fan film itself, I don't mind the practical effects. I think they look pretty good, and I respect the effort put into the stop motion and everything. It's just, the smoke looks really weird, and it's not something that I feel like, in all fairness, you need to have digital smoke for. The classic way of doing this is you put a firecracker in your puppet. And I understand that they're on a budget and they probably have to maybe return this. And okay, that's fine. Don't have your thing blow up. Just shoot it down. There are alternatives, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I found the smoke to be a bit of a inconsistency. It's kind of funny, though, to look through the comments, because some people are like, oh, I can totally tell that's practical effects. I'm like, well then, I guess they're not very good effects, but okay. I guess it's just so nifty now, whatever.
I don't feel like I don't get this obsession with practical. I like practical effects, but God, like the Force Awakens interviews, every single one, it was just practical effects. Yet 90% of the practical effects in that movie have some CG implementation on them. All of them. In fact, it's funny because people make fun of the prequels with that. A lot of the aliens in the prequels, the clones and stuff were obviously completely CG, but some of the aliens in the prequels that people make fun of were actually practical with puppets with CG done over top of them. It's just the CG was older, so it didn't look as good, or wasn't integrated as well. But here with people just being like, oh, practical, that means good. Mm-hmm. Not always. And then there's the whole thing like, oh, I can tell it's practical, but yeah. Is it more important that you can't tell if it's an effect or not, or is it more important that it just looks good?
Yeah.
I know the Green Lantern suit in Green Lantern is CG. I know it's not there. I don't care. It looks good.
Yeah. But in this, I'm looking at it, and I think the AT-AT looks pretty good. I think the ship, the snowspeeder, looks fantastic, to be honest with you. That one, I was having a hard time telling if that was digitally integrated after the fact, or, well, obviously it was either way. I was having a hard time telling if that one was, an actual physical object that they shot, or if it was a miniature, or if it was, fully CG integrated after the fact. And it's a miniature integrated after the fact with the smoke added, and I thought that looked pretty good.
One question I have about this is I was trying to figure this out while I was watching it. What was this filmed on? Because I don't know if this was either filmed on like a high-end cinema digital camera or like a or potentially actually on film. Now, I don't think it was actually shot on film because shooting in the cold is like a real bitch apparently when you shoot on film.
Actually, I watched the behind the scenes for this, and they have the camera in a big box, so it might have been on film.
Damn.
They have it in a big box to protect it.
That's okay. Then that's it. It could be that. I don't know if like digital, like electronic digital cameras would also run like a risk of malfunctioning, maybe. But there's a good chance this is shot on film because I've seen a lot of different camera footage, and oftentimes I can kind of like guess with most of these fan films. I can kind of like guess the tier that the camera they're working with is at. This I have no idea because it looks like it could be film. Because it looks a little bit older, like it actually looks like something that could have been shot in like the 70s to me. But
that's one of the things I want to get into in a sec too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but at the same time, I didn't really know because filming in the snow with a film camera sounds like hell. I would kill myself.
Yeah, and like it's you look through the description here, and it's like, using time-honored methods such as stop-motion animation, shot on location in negative 30 degrees Celsius, negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit, at Columbia Ice Field in Alberta, Canada. There's not a ton of information just on the video itself about how it was made. Production, I guess, maybe? Okay. Oh, it's a red. It's a red
okay.
Pro.
All right.
Yeah, it's a red 15 millimeter. Okay.
Okay. Well, looks great.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Just the like practical ways in which this is shot, and the fact that it does have a very like all the costumes and everything give it a very 70s film feel, which is really cool. Because we talked about this when we did the Han Solo fan film. Is like you can get away with certain things in a Star Wars fan film because the methods that are available to fan film creators were the methods that were used back in the day. Mm-hmm. And so it naturally fits the Star Wars universe in a way it wouldn't necessarily with like a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan film or something.
Yeah.
So that's just really, really cool. The only visual thing that really bothers me about this is the Stormtrooper. Once we get her helmet off, like, that is not a good makeup job.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't pay attention to the makeup, but that's interesting.
Well, I mean, you just go back and look at her, and, like, someone left a comment being way too harsh on it, but, like, they do raise a pretty good point. She's at about the 4-minute, 20-second mark. You go back and look at her, and I'm not sure if she's a vampire or a zombie or what. She's just she's got, like, makeup caked on her, and she's got like black stuff around her eyes. I'm like, she was just shot, so it's like she's supposed to be injured beforehand and she's out here freezing to death, because I don't really get that implication when we see her at first. I don't know, I thought this was weird, because like it would seem odd that she's freezing to death. She's in snow gear, she's got supplies on her. I don't think she's out there freezing to death. I think that the makeup is supposed to indicate from her being shot. I don't know. It's a weird makeup job to me. It's the only like really distracting visual element.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. You're pretty right. One thing I will say though that I noticed, I like how when she takes off her helmet, she's got like her hair braided. Something about that feels Star Warsy to me. I don't know.
No, that's fair. There are
cool.
plenty of different hairstyles in Star Wars. That's really believable. It's weird because her makeup job I feel is like really bad, but his looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And obviously he's on screen longer. I don't know. Maybe she was just out there in the cold, so she was already really cold, and so she's just kind of like naturally getting paler. And maybe that affected the makeup in a weird way. I don't know how makeup works that intimately, so...
My prediction is that if they didn't do the makeup before going on location, and they had to, like, on location do the makeup, it being really, really cold will affect both like the consistency of the makeup you're using and how it will be received when you're putting it on someone's face.
Yeah.
So that could be part of it. I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, it's not a big thing, but I agree with you guys. The makeup isn't great on her.
Okay. So we talked a lot. It's weird that we spent this much time talking about the filmmaking side of things, because normally we go straight to the story. And so I'll start out with the big controversial thing. This is on the boring side. Kind of got a little tired both times I watched this.
Interesting. I have
Go ahead.
Okay, I was not bored by this. I've seen this twice now. I like it a lot. I think that it's pretty simple, but I kind of think you could take this and like expand it, and it could be like a really cool novel.
Oh yeah, I could see that, because like you could have this be the prologue, and then the rest of the novel is him trying to blend in with stormtroopers and get back to the rebellion.
Yeah, like what I like about the story is that it's kind of okay, so we've gotten like some news about anthology stuff. Like we know we're getting like a Han Solo movie, whatever. I am less interested in those kind of Star Wars anthology movies as I would be like you give just some random, I don't know, like some actual good screenwriter, just randomly give him free reign, write some little Star Wars story about like a guy who crash lands on Hoth and has this own little adventure that isn't really a big deal to really anything else in Star Wars canon. It's just a little adventure with this one little guy. I that's the kind of shit that I want to see in Star Wars anthology movies. Yeah. And so like that's what I like about this is this is again another one of those examples of like people making fan films and they're kind of like doing it better than studios are. Like I think that at least based on like a sheer concept level, like I would much rather watch this than a Han Solo spin-off movie, especially now because of the whole thing, directors. Anyway, but yeah, no, I understand why. It's very up my alley again, though. Like pacing wise, I'm really into slow movies. Mm-hmm. That's my thing. I don't know.
How about you, Red? What did you think of the story?
I really liked it. I will agree it gets a little dull. It's a little slow at points. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. It gets a little slow at points, but I don't know. I'm always a sucker for the boots on the ground kind of stories when it comes to Star Wars. Like, I love the big epic Sith and Jedi stuff, but I mean, like, my favorite book series is the X-Wing books. It's about, just the simple pilots and stuff. And this is really, really good, because as much as I love Rogue One, and I love Rogue One, I kind of like having the unimportant soldier's story. The person who, if he dies, the galaxy won't change. It's not going to be this groundbreaking thing. Just a trooper. And this kind of fulfills that. And I really like that. And does a lot of small things. Like, I like the fact that he won't shoot the stormtrooper. Mm-hmm. Like, just those small little things. Because so often we try and go for this dark and gritty thing. And it captures that dark and grittiness to an extent. But it also still has, like, the more good versus evil thing where the rebel is still the good guy. I've seen Star Wars fan films that try so hard to pander to Imperial fanboys and be like, well, really, the rebels might be bad. Because I mean, Stormtroopers just want order, right? And it's like, no.
Those rebels and they're fucking libertarian rebels, anarchy.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, this is kind of on the boring side, but it's not bad. This just like, it's like the art house picture of a Star Wars fan film to me.
No, you're right. You're clearly right about that.
Yeah, it's just like, this is not the high action adventure kind of thing that I would really want from Star Wars. It's funny because like the reason Red's here is because I was kind of complaining about this on Twitter at the comment section on this video. Let me find the comment and read it out loud because I have so much to disagree with.
I can't wait. Okay. I love terrible.
Oh, like to your point of hold on, art house thing. Watch Kara. It is the most like bullshit Imperial like artsy thing. It keeps cutting back to like the same trying to be artistic and emotional shot. It's laughably bad.
Okay.
And it won an award.
Here's this comment. Here's this comment. It's like, it's really thumbs up, and it says, what every Star Wars short film should be. No Jedi, no Sith, no needless flash. Loved it. I'm like, am I the only Star Wars fan that likes Jedi and Sith? Maybe I'm weird like that, but I actually enjoy, laser swords and magic wizards. Sorry, but I don't know. This, like, kind of thing, I mean, it's good, but, like, I know there's Star Wars stuff with laser swords out there, and that's objectively better to me.
It's funny. I'm, like, somewhere in the middle where, like, I feel like oftentimes people either say, like, they care zero about, like, the war stuff, bounty hunters, soldiers, that kind of stuff, and they care only about, like, the Jedi mythology stuff, and then I've heard the opposite, where I'm, like, in the middle where I really like when, like, the Jedi mythology shit gets mixed in with other things that have nothing to do with it. That's my favorite thing. Like, and just, like, general conflict, and then, like, randomly there will be a guy who maybe is a Force user or something like that. Just the fact, like, having Force users in the galaxy, that's, like, I like the mix. I don't know. I'm in, like, the between stage.
And I'm definitely more toward the Jedi and Sith stuff, but I like the conflict between the Jedi and the Sith just has these galactic implications every time.
Mm-hmm.
Or not even just Jedi and Sith, but dark side and light side. I like the galactic implications. And something to relate this back to the fan film that I do like about this is it shows the people kind of caught in the middle. I really do enjoy and respect it. And, like, I like this guy's character journey where he's stuck alone. This starts off with, like, I'm just gonna say it's Mon Mothma, even though it's probably not. Mon Mothma is saying, your sacrifice will be honored, but we've left you the fuck behind, to, like, all the people who didn't get off Hoth during the Empire's attack. And, like, okay, yeah, that would be a thing that would happen. If you're a rebellion and you're scrambling ships, not everyone's getting the fuck off. That's going to be real. That's a real risk you make as a member of a rebellion, is that you can't have no man left behind tactics like that. You don't have the resources for it. But at the same time, like, he knows this, and he's, like, stranded alone, and he doesn't know what to do. He gets that moment where he's contemplating suicide, and he's, like, thinking about his family, and then it just, like, the fucking light bulb pops up over his head, and he's like, no, I'll steal that dying stormtrooper's clothes, and I'll make it back that way. Mm-hmm. That's really solid storytelling to me.
I agree with everything you just said. There's one little thing, though, that bugs me about the very ending of this. And this is just, like, one of those things where it's kind of like a little bit of redundancy that you don't need. So you get both a shot of him kind of, like, secretly turning around and looking at the hologram, and you get a shot of the girl in the Rebel pilot clothing. You don't need both. You only need one. But they kind of put themselves in a weird place where they put the punchline to the reveal in her half, where it's like, oh no, the little fucking drone thing's there. Fuck, it's gonna kill her. And, like, that happened there. So, like, that's fun. I like that. You almost don't need him even going back to the ship, but you do. But then there's, like, a little cool thing with her getting killed. I don't know. It's tough. But
see, I don't like her getting killed. To be honest with you.
That's actually, you know what? She shouldn't die. I agree.
Well, I don't know necessarily that she shouldn't die. I think she probably should have just been dead by the time he came back for her clothing. Because what he does is he leaves her to die. He decides that he doesn't need to, like, brutally kill her. He's gonna just leave her to die. That was the implication of that scene to me. He didn't have it in him to just kill someone in cold blood. They were fighting. It's a war. That's acceptable. But now she's injured. She doesn't have the resources to come after him. He's not going to kill her in cold blood. That was the implication of that scene. Having kind of this, like, tongue-in-cheek, laughy thing where, oh, ha ha ha, now she's going to die. Like, that part really bothers me. Like, all I really needed, like, what I feel like we should have done is he should have, done the turn with the hologram thing, walk back, and then we, like, cut to her body half buried in the snow next to his rebel uniform. Like, something along those lines would have fit a lot better to me, the tone of this. Like, the end of that scene with her just feels like it's really out of place to me, and it feels like it almost belongs in a more tongue-in-cheek fan film compared to how seriously this one's taking itself.
Yeah,
No, it's
I think
sort
it
of
actually.
devil's advocate thing. I
Oh, go ahead.
don't.
Go ahead.
I agree with the way it's played isn't good. I do like the idea though that the rebel won't kill her, but the Imperial's indiscriminate killing is what gets her in at the end.
Okay, you know what?
The fact the
That
Empire
sounds-
kills anyone in a rebel uniform. I still feel
Yeah.
like she should have just died off screen or whatever, but I like at least the concept. I wish that was maybe more not as played as for laughs.
No, yeah,
and more
you're right.
dramatically handled.
It's not like stupid or anything. It's just whether or not it works in this particularly. But I think I agree. Like it's clear that like it's not like stupid. It's not like nobody was thinking. It's just like I don't know. People are gonna feel differently about that kind of little tiny details. I don't know. It's whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it just kind of... It doesn't ruin it by any means, but I feel like it undercuts it. For me, the thing that just, like, doesn't make this a super enjoyable experience, even though I've been overwhelmingly positive, is, like, it's one of those things where, like, I analyze it, and I can't tell you too many, like, huge problems, but I still didn't really care for it on a personal level, because it's just, like, really slow for my tastes. This... Again, I compared to this kind of like the art house Star Wars film. This feels like the what was his name that did Erase? This is the David Lynch Star Wars film.
He almost
that we
directed
got.
Return of the Jedi.
I know. That's why I made that joke. This is the David Lynch Star Wars film that we almost got in my book, and that's probably like a really big compliment in some circles. To me, it's not. So, I don't know, like, I watched this, I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's nothing, like, overly wrong with it on a technical or just analytic level. It's just, like, doesn't mean I enjoyed it. I almost fell asleep. Like, I watched it twice. It's less than 10 minutes long. I almost fell asleep both times. And I'm like, that's a problem for me.
Maybe you're just on some sort of drug that's secretly being weaned onto your bloodstream and it's putting you to sleep.
The most likely of scenarios.
Of course.
Yeah. You remind me of this guy that started working at the company. Someone was explaining to him that we're likely to have a water shortage in the next like 10 to 15 years, and that companies are going to start charging like through the roof for drinking water. And he's like, they think they're going to charge us for something that just falls from the sky? That's stupid. I'm like, there's so much more to that than you understand. But to him, it's just the most, it just comes for free from the sky. Like, oh my god. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Oh, man.
Did anyone have anything else they would bring up with this one?
I guess I kind of have like a if you're gonna do a film set on Hoth, I guess like if you want your whole point about like maybe having me more about the people stuck in the middle, I kind of wish, because this had such good production values, this was an adaptation of the short comic, what was it, Entrenched from the Star Wars Visionaries trade. It's not technically canon, but it's about this guy called Jobin, who you actually hear over the comms in Empire Strikes Back. They retcon him to be the guy who says, Imperial troops have entered the base, Imperial troops have entered, and then it cuts off. And, like, it's this whole story about this one guy who's left behind on Hoth, and he self-destructs the ion cannon so the Empire can't use it, and then, like, runs into Vader and then holds him off and gets Vader to kill him so his buddy can escape. And, like, it's just this cool little thing of, like, this guy, stuck in the middle of the events. Like, he's standing behind Vader as the Falcon takes off, and that's why Vader kills him. And then we reveal at the end that he's Mon Mothma's son. And, like, the whole thing's been him, like, giving this letter to Mon Mothma that takes a while to get to her because they had to go back for his body, like, a year later. I know that might have been hard for them to do, but I almost wish, just seeing with all these production values, it was that story, because it's a really good short story.
Sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, check out the Visionaries trade. It's great.
I mean, that sounds cool and all, but it's obviously a very different story than what they were trying to do here. And again, I like that it's just this very human thing that keeps him from killing himself or just, freezing to death out there, is this just want to get back to his family. This is a really good example of just visual storytelling. It may be, as far as it kind of bored me factor goes, it probably lingers a little too much on the isolation and hopelessness. I feel like if the damn message from the Rebel fleet was, halfway intelligible, the only reason I was able to understand that is because I watched it twice, and once I had headphones on, that would have probably been enough with, like, one or two of those big landscape shots as opposed to, like, the 12 we get.
At least if it's gonna be stuck on a shot, it's a good shot as opposed to the same freaking shot of a forest.
Yeah, good point.
So many Star Wars fan films are just a freaking forest.
That's understandable.
I know, but sometimes they're like, look at this! We found a medium-sized hill! Look at it!
Medium-sized hill.
Okay, let's go ahead and go on to ratings then. Rasko, what will you rate this fan film?
I will give this fan film 4 out of 5 Rebel binocular things.
Okay, how about you, Red?
I'll give this 4 out of 5 crashed modified T-47s.
Okay.
That's the
I'm
airspeeder.
going to go ahead and just go with the flow here. I'm also going to give this 4 out of 5 zombie vampire stormtroopers.
Oh god, Death Troopers.
Okay. Next week, I am in a Black Panther mood. So next week, we're going to be talking about the Black Panther Unleashed fan film, Storms of Carnage, and I'm tempted to talk about episode 2 of the series along with all the stuff they did in between, but let's just stick with the initial fan film. I think that'll be fine. So Black Panther Unleashed, Storms of Carnage. All right, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I'm the beta male cuck.
And I'm the Rogue One. I'm sticking with that.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.